We're standing at Kate's Park, Weyowichin. This is Tsleil-Waututh territory. All up and down this inlet has been our home for many years. So I don't say this project is in our backyard, I say it's in our kitchen sink.
Across the river lies the sworn enemy of Charlene Alleg and her community, the oil terminal of the Trans Mountain Pipeline.
There was so much abundance here, it sustained our lives.
Every day, 300,000 barrels of oil extracted from the oil sands make their 1,270-kilometer journey through this pipeline. It runs from Alberta's extraction sites through these tankers all the way to the Pacific coast. It represents a big portion of Canada's exports, but according to Charlene and her allies, it's also a threat for the environment, especially now that an expansion project is looking to triple the pipeline's capacity.
They're also proposing tanker traffic that would triple the capacity, not just the tankers that you see in the inlet here, but super tankers, and it's just too much.
Since 2014, protests against the Trans Mountain and its expansion project have multiplied. Opponents worry about the environment and climate change. Charlene has decided to take her battle to court. Her complaint is one of many in Canada's Federal Court of Appeal. The project has a new owner and newfound support from none other than Justin Trudeau's Liberal government.
What we're trying to put forward is for the environment and the ecology. I just need to have that opportunity to share the risks that we're being asked to bear.
It's been estimated that the Canadian government will pay between $4.5 and $9.3 billion to build the new pipeline. It's a long-awaited investment from the oil industry and the 400,000 people it employs. Many of the cities and communities nestled along the pipeline depend entirely on the jobs it generates. For them, the Trans Mountain Pipeline is their lifeline.
So here we have all the safety supplies that are required for the pipeline industry. They're mandatory for working on the pipelines. And as you can see, we've brought in a substantial amount of inventory getting ready for the pipeline project.
In anticipation of the work the pipeline could generate, Raymond Servini has invested in specialized tools. He's also trained 4 new employees. But 2 years later, his gamble hasn't paid off.
If the project doesn't go through, we'll probably lose $200,000 or $300,000. And I know a lot of the businesses in Hope have been preparing, increasing their workforces, building up their businesses, anticipating that the pipeline's going to be starting. But how long can you sit with extra staff and extra inventory before it starts hitting your bottom line?
With just a few weeks left until the federal election takes place, Justin Trudeau finds himself neck to neck with his Conservative opponent. Trudeau has adopted a conflicting electoral strategy, betting on exploiting fossil fuels while sounding the alarm on climate change. His political rival, Andrew Scheer, also vows to maintain the targets set by the Paris Agreement. But he admits he doesn't know if the measures he proposes will achieve that goal. The problem, neither proposal would allow Canada to reach its targets, according to the findings of this office, which researches and analyzes climate change politics.
So we recently did a study to examine whether or not Canada was on target to achieve its greenhouse gas emissions reductions targets.
Both Liberals and Conservatives say they hope they can use oil revenue to finance the transition towards a greener Canada. They're also banking on the pan-Canadian framework on clean growth and climate change. Jotham Peters says that is not enough.
On one side, you have carbon taxes, which are reducing greenhouse gas emissions. You have different infrastructure projects, which could potentially be increasing greenhouse gas emissions. You have people driving more, which is leading to more emissions. You have people selecting different types of cars, which are leading to emissions. So there's all these different conflicting factors which are influencing Canada's emissions. And what we found was that current Canadian climate policy would achieve fairly significant reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, but that Canada would still fall short of achieving its Paris Agreement targets. There's many provinces in Canada which have established mandates for zero emissions vehicles, but we need to go further. We might have to go try to achieve greater greenhouse gas reductions from heavy duty vehicles or from buildings, etc.
The National Energy Board of Canada deemed the Trans Mountain Pipeline to be public interest, but it imposed 156 conditions in order for the expansion to be built. As for voters, Canadians have declared that after the cost of living, climate change is a main source of anxiety. It goes to show that the environment is an issue close to their hearts.